Pretty Girl Club. Welcome back to the Exoticals United community. So, this video was sent to me in the Discord. Be sure to join the Patreon if you want access to the Discord. I do prioritize content requests from the Discord, from the course, as well as my members page above emails and stuff like that. So, I want to talk about this video because someone is saying that Shera7 is saying men don't like naturally curly hair. And we're going to dive into that talking point. Because the thing that people have to remember, especially if they are dating people of ethnic groups who do not have curly hair, people are naturally attracted to their own phenotype. Or at least if they love themselves and if they love their own looks, then they're naturally going to be attracted to straight hair. Like, let's say he's an Asian guy, of course he's going to be attracted to straight hair. He himself has straight hair. But I've noticed there's this rhetoric where whenever a woman is privileged, as Shira7 is, whenever there's an exotical who is privileged and desirable and successful, people have the tendency to give this talking point of you only got to where you are because of skin tone. You only got to where you are because of your hair texture. You only got to where you are because of colorism. But let's see what the video says.
Most men do not like curly hair. They like long, loose waves or straight.
Okay, so she's saying that most men don't like curly hair. They like long, looser waves and straight. And I will say, from a sociology standpoint, as far as men's preferences or what they have probably been attracted to since youth, if you're talking about non-Black men, then she would actually be correct. Okay? Because most people on this earth do not have, especially tighter curls or afros. So it kind of depends on what you consider to be your internalized beauty standard. Most people's internalized beauty standards or their sexual attraction begins in childhood. So if you're talking about non-Black men's sexual attraction, non-Black men tend to have kind of straighter hair, maybe wavier to straighter hair. So most straight non-Black men who have straighter hair, they are going to be sexually attracted to, most likely, straighter hair that mimics their own. Or at least that would be one of their initial sexual attractions from childhood. Now, as far as saying that they just don't like natural curly hair, I think it depends on the texture of the curly hair. And I also think that Shera7, she talks a lot about men's preferences and kind of like the preferences of wealthy men and stuff like that. So I do think that most non-Black men are not going to prefer hair textures that are super far away from their own. Just generally speaking, if you're one of those girls who cares about preferences. And I think that Shera7 is trying to tell these sugar babies, she's trying to tell these women, hey, if you care about meeting his preference or meeting his fantasy, you may want to consider his cultural or ethnic background or kind of like the hairstyles or hair textures that he is used to seeing. Shera7 does a lot of talking points about playing into a man's sexual fantasy in order to attain money. She talks a lot about playing into a man's preferences so that you can get what you want out of him. And I think that Shera7 also talks about those who are talking to non-Black men. So the average, even if you look at porn, for example, because I talk about this on my channel, this is a sociology channel. So we study society on here. So even on pornography, most pornography does not feature, by the way, men get their beauty standards from Hollywood and porn. If you didn't know that, then yeah, you don't understand sociology if you didn't know that. So most men, they get their beauty standards from Hollywood and porn. They don't get their beauty standards from woke culture. They don't get their beauty standards from unambiguous Black women who complain about texturism online. Shera7 knows this. She didn't explain this because she doesn't have a sociology channel. She has more of a hypergamy channel. But from a sociology standpoint, it is safe to assume that the average man you will come across has been exposed to Hollywood and pornography and social media. And that is where the majority of men get their beauty standards from. So the majority of what they see and the majority of what they're jacking off to or fantasizing about are not going to be women with the kinkiest, curliest hair. So I can say, from a sociology standpoint, Shira is actually correct as far as that talking point. I think that she's just wording it in a way that people are going to get offended by. But it's like, if you're easily offended by this type of comment from Shera7, you will not succeed in hypergamy. You will not succeed in social climbing. You will not succeed with men or women of other cultures. So the fact that people are even getting outraged by this is asinine to me. You're over here spending billions of dollars on straight and wavy hair, and then you get mad when an exotical, Shira7, says, hey, a lot of men don't like naturally curly hair. And I think that Shira7, she's probably talking about the curliest of hair, because Shira herself has her hair texture is like mine. So, her hair is not kinky or quote unquote nappy, but we all know that Shira7 is not allowed to use the word nappy. She can't use that word nappy because Shira7 is mixed race. She's African American and Puerto Rican. She obviously has a mixed race background. She's obviously an exotical, so she can't say that. So instead, it appears as if she's using the word curly, like, oh, most men don't like naturally curly hair. She appears to be saying it in a way that's being nice because she has majority unambiguous Black women subscribers. So they know what she means. And this is what I say all the time to the divestors. If you're a divestor, why are you mad that he prefers straight or wavy hair? He's white. His hair is straight or wavy. Why are you mad if he doesn't like your natural hair texture, or if he doesn't like it the best? Like, if he likes wavy or straighter hair that's closer to his own, which is pretty normal, by the way. Any person who loves themselves and who loves their own phenotype is naturally going to love that phenotype on other women. And this is what a lot of unambiguous Black divestors don't understand. But let's continue.
Hope you all are taking what she is saying with a grain of salt and not literally with all your might, because none of you have came back with any report that Shira helped you to get a man or a money bag. Shira is wearing her real hair in these pictures. Like, this lady hair is beautiful and curly. I don't know, for whatever reason, that she don't like curly hair, but I really feel like curly hair looks better on her.
Well, Shera7's curls, I mean, you could argue that she has more of an S curl, almost like a wavy hair texture. And Shera7 is socially strategic in the sense that she doesn't make herself the standard of beauty for her subscribers. So she's actually very strategic in that sense. She doesn't tell her subscribers, you guys should look like me. All she said was, a lot of men, they don't like, as in they don't prefer. Because, by the way, like is a synonym for the word prefer. So a lot of people who get offended, they're literally offended because they do not understand the definitions of words. The word like is another synonym for the word prefer. To like something means you prefer that over one other thing. So, especially for those who want a non-black man or whatever, or you want a wealthy man, we all know that the majority of men who are wealthy are, they tend to be non-black. So Shera7 would actually be correct from a sociology standpoint, that they would prefer maybe a straighter or a looser hair texture if you care about being the man's preference. So the only women who would get offended by Shera7's comment are women who are offended if they are not that man's preference. Those are the only women that would get offended by that. I wouldn't be offended if my boyfriend said, "Oh, I prefer straight hair." I wouldn't be offended. My hair is not naturally straight, because I personally don't care. I don't get some sort of ego boost or self-esteem boost from being a man's preference. Most men don't even know what they're talking about. Their preference changes based on how their dick feels that day. So the fact that women would even get offended at Shera7 making a comment like this, most men don't like naturally curly hair. Yeah, unless their dick is hard in front of a woman who has naturally curly hair. Please excuse me for being vulgar. But let's continue.
Point blank, period. Them wigs that she be wearing be looking tacky, raggedy, and they look cheap unless she gets her hair professionally done for a photo shoot or somebody.
So notice how this woman, who I'm assuming is a black woman or black identified woman, um, she instantly starts coming for Shera7's wigs. So as soon as Shera7 actually tells women on her channel what men fantasize about or what they've been exposed to or what they would prefer, especially if they're non-black, because if you're doing the hypergamy thing, you're going to encounter more non-black men to be hypergamous with versus black men. So because Shira actually told the truth, which is what I say all the time, by the way, you think that a white man grew up from birth preferring an unambiguous monoracial dark-skinned black woman with natural hair? You're absolutely delusional. You do not understand psychology. You do not understand sociology, and you don't understand cultures of people of other races who are not black. Of course, they're going to like and prefer from childhood the hair texture that is their own because that's how they were raised as a part of their cultural background. Anybody with healthy self-esteem should like their own hair or their own hair texture, and they should have been taught from childhood to like their own hair texture. And most people, depending on their cultural backgrounds, they have been exposed to media from within their particular ethnic group. So this is why you see a lot of like Indian people where they watch Bollywood movies and stuff. You didn't grow up watching a lot of Bollywood movies unless you're multicultural. So people who are monoculturally white or monoculturally Asian, monoculturally whatever, of course they're going to be sexually attracted to or grow up having a preference for their ethnicity's hair texture. That's completely normal. That's totally normal. In fact, that is a sign of healthy self esteem and loving your own phenotype. The fact that when you were a little boy, like if you're a little Indian boy and you have a crush on a little Indian girl, that is totally normal. That is not texturist. So Shira7 drawing light to that and saying, most of these men, they don't naturally like curly hair or the curliest hair. That's not their natural preference. And Shira didn't say it like that. She just didn't explain it, and I feel like people are running with it. But her saying that is technically true from a sociology standpoint. Now, is it going to be true from like a dating standpoint and a realistic standpoint? Not necessarily, because human beings are not a monolith. But Shira7 talks a lot about social strategy, and she talks about utilizing your phenotype and your beauty to get what you want in terms of hypergamy. So she's trying to help these women. And of course, the social justice warriors, they can't stand it. They can't stand that unambiguous dark skinned monoracial black women with 4C hair are not the preference of every white man on earth. And and if you're one of those women who gets offended by not being a man's initial preference, then bitch, what are you doing? You shouldn't even be trying to social climb. Go to the African American community, stay within the African American community. Stay within the unambiguous dark skin community with people with 4C hair. So it's like, okay, you hate the black community, but then you hate that non-black communities have a preference for their own phenotypes. I've met white men. I've met a lot of white guys in my hometown. There are a lot of white guys who have blonde hair and blue eyes, and they have said before, "Oh, she has blonde hair and blue eyes. She's so beautiful. Oh yeah, that's my preference. She's hot. She has blonde hair and blue eyes." Well, he has blonde hair and blue eyes. So yeah, that's totally normal for him to initially like that or prefer that. To like means to prefer. It means that his preference is a blue-eyed blonde. It means that my Exoticals United, my phenotype is not that guy's particular preference. That's okay. I'm not going to be everyone's preference. No, my self esteem didn't go down. No, I don't hate my hair now. But let's continue.
On Instagram or TikTok that emailed her, DM'd her, and was like, "Look, girl, I can help you out." And I said, "Let me do your hair and makeup." That's the only time I see some of her pictures looking like professional and pretty. So all that advice that she be giving y'all about y'all hair and stuff, look, listen to me. Having straight hair.
But just because your hair is not initially a guy's preference, it doesn't mean he can't be attracted to you. Like, for example, Have you ever been attracted to a guy and you don't like his shirt? You don't like his pants, you don't like his shoes, you don't like his nails, you don't like his mustache, you don't like his goatee, but you still are attracted to him overall. You still dated him. He still became your boyfriend. You still fucked him. You still were with him. So that's all Shera7 is saying. She's not saying it like, oh my God, if you have curly hair, you're fucked. She's not stupid enough to say something like that. She herself has curly hair. So it's not a diss against people who have her hair texture, but Shera7 doesn't have an inferiority complex about her hair. So that's why I, as someone who shares her hair texture, a similar hair texture, I'm not offended because I also don't have an inferiority complex about my hair. The only women that would get offended by this are women who are insecure about their particular hair texture and they feel like their hair takes away from their overall beauty and the overall package, or they feel like their hair takes away from their overall social climbing thing. But the women who don't have an inferiority complex about their hair, like Shera7, they view their hair as just more of an accessory. So even if a man says, hey, I normally prefer blue-eyed blondes, but you're so gorgeous, I want to date you. Women who are confident, they're not necessarily offended by that. They're like, oh, okay, whatever. But the fact that people are getting offended by Shera7 simply talking about that, this shows me that those women not only have a different phenotype and different hair texture than Shera7, but they're also offended by that. If you don't compliment my hair, if you don't prefer my hair, you're a texturist. If you don't like my hair in a kinky 4C afro, in a shrunken afro, you're texturist. You don't even like your hair in a shrunken 4C afro. So why the fuck do you expect me to lie to you and say, "Oh, this is what men like." And also afro is different than curly hair, but I think that Shera7, obviously she's not going to use the word afro. She's obviously not going to say nappy or anything like that because of obvious reasons. But that is totally fine in my opinion. Everybody has certain things that maybe they like about themselves, certain things they don't like about themselves. I don't like when I get pimples. I don't like it when I have acne. And if somebody were to say online, hey, men don't like acne, I'm not going to get offended. In fact, I will agree. I'll be like, shit, I don't like acne either. I'm getting rid of my acne. Shit. Like I would laugh at that because my self-esteem is not based on my skin or having smooth skin or acne or no acne. No. So I have no problem admitting certain things that I don't really like about myself or I don't prefer about myself. I have no problem admitting that I prefer a different skin texture. I prefer a smooth skin texture on myself. I prefer a certain hairstyle or a certain hair texture. There's nothing wrong with me admitting that to myself. But to the women who have false confidence, they don't understand how confidence works. So they think that the only way to be confident is having perfect confidence. And by the way, there's no such thing. There's no such thing as a person who has perfect confidence. And Shera7 actually, she knows this and she has talked about this. Shera7 has gone on her videos before and said, I am average without makeup, or, I look better with makeup on, or, hey, that's the point of wearing the makeup. A lot of people came for Shera7 about using filters as well on her photos. And then she was like, well, the filter makes me look better. I look better with the filter. I would rather use a filter than put on another layer of makeup. And we all know that filters, they slim your nose, they can change your eye color, your eye size, your eye shape. So Shira has no problem openly admitting what she thinks looks better than her. And that's actually a sign of having self-esteem and confidence. That's actually a sign of self-esteem. Being able to say to yourself, hey, wait a minute, do I meet my internalized beauty standard perfectly? Okay, no, I don't. So let me do this cute little filter or this cute little weave or whatever. And then I'm going to look like a baddie with a slim nose. Like, let's say your nose is big or something and you want it to be slimmer, but you don't want to get surgery. Okay, cool. That's different than, oh my God, I just love everything about myself. I'm just perfect. I woke up perfect. I look perfect. Everything about me is perfect. My 4C afro in its shrunken state is perfect. And everybody else better agree with me. Well, no, even if you think that your 4C afro is something that you like, or your curly hair, 3B hair, whatever, if it's something you like, to assume that every man you come across is going to prefer your hair texture, that's actually narcissistic. Everybody don't prefer your ass. Everybody doesn't prefer your hair texture. Everybody doesn't prefer me. Everybody doesn't prefer my skin tone. Everybody doesn't like my skin tone and my hair texture. And that's all that Shera7 is saying. Everybody doesn't like curly hair, especially if they are non-black. And this is how I know that a lot of these women who get offended, you didn't grow up in a non-black community. You didn't grow up in a multiracial or multicultural space, because anybody who has knows that that's the case. Anybody who grew up around non-black people knows that a lot of non-black people blow dry their hair or they air dry it and they use the round brush or whatever brush they have to straighten out the curls. This is a normal cultural phenomenon in multiple non-black ethnicities. Anybody who disagrees with me does not understand sociology. So that's all Shera7 is saying. But people are taking it and running with it. And now we've got a black woman dragging Shera7's wigs. But if I were to drag other women's wigs, I'd be called texturist.
Hair, curly hair, wavy hair, fine hair, kinky, coily hair does not keep a man.
So then this woman says, your hair texture can't keep a man. Shera7 never said that a certain hair texture will keep a man. All she said was there are a lot of men who don't like naturally curly hair, which is actually true, especially if they're non-black. Yeah. And so this is something that you have to take into consideration. If you don't have naturally straight hair. So for example, with me, my hair is just like how Shera7's is. I have a type 3 hair texture, somewhere in the type 3s, kind of a looser, curlier hair texture, like an S curl or something like that. But even for me, as someone who has dated men of every race, I am fully aware and I understand that men from other races, they're not going to understand curly hair, and they may like straight hair better than my natural curly hair. And so I actually asked myself, this is when I was with a few of my exes are non-black. One is Asian, some of them are white guys, whatever. So before I even began dating those guys, I've asked myself, okay, am I willing to potentially keep my hair straight or keep my hair highlighted? Like, I've dated non-black guys where they prefer a certain thing. Do I care about being his preference? So for me, I decided I don't care about being a guy's preference. I just decided to decenter the man's preference. But for the women who care so much about being his preference, now they're getting all pissed off and they're saying, well, your hair can't keep a man. Keeping a man it's not a flex. Being with a man for 50 years is not a flex. So this girl actually sounds extremely male-centered. Curly hair don't keep a man. Straight hair don't keep a man. Nappy hair don't keep a man. There's no such thing as quote unquote keeping or controlling or manipulating a man into staying with you. Men are human beings. They're human beings. There's nothing you can do. There's no particular look or phenotype that can keep him, but Shera7 never said that there was. So the fact that people are even conflating her words to even mean that shows that you have a severe inferiority complex about your hair texture not being a man's preference. And if it's that serious, for you, for your hair texture to be the man's preference, then perm your fucking hair. If it's that serious, if you really care that much about men preferring your particular hair or men preferring straight hair and you want them to prefer your hair, then perm your fucking hair, go be male centered and get over it. Let's continue.
That's the problem. Y'all thinking that she giving you advice to help you keep the man, and
Shera7 does not give advice to help women keep a man. She has said this multiple times. She's talked about how a lot of men are dusties. She talks about how to keep your bags. How to get your bags is really Shera7's content. She really talks about how to get money, how to get what you want financially is kind of the core of her content. She doesn't even really talk about how to be treated, how to get him to be faithful or whatever. No, in fact, she has said that she believes that all men cheat. So Shera7 has never even said on her content, this is how you keep a man, have straight hair. So do you see how these women with inferiority complexes, they will take one sentence that you say and they will begin, this is called spiraling. So like in psychology, it's called spiraling. So spiraling is when something happens that triggers you or someone says something that triggers you and then all of these negative suppressed emotions come up. It's when all of these negative thoughts come up. Like if Shira7 says most men don't like natural curly hair, I'm not offended. Most men don't like fat women, for example. Most men don't like obese women. There are a lot of things where most men statistically, she's just saying from a statistical perspective, most men do not like curly. I really think that she meant kind of more afro-y hair, but obviously the majority of her subscribers are unambiguous black women who wish they looked like her. So obviously she's not going to say afro. I think that she really meant kind of more kinky, coily type 4 hair, which statistically that's true, right? Because otherwise texturism wouldn't exist, right? So did Shira lie? Did she lie when she's talking about texturism? When she's saying, basically, most men don't prefer the kinkiest, curliest, coiliest hair. Most men don't like that. All she's saying is texturism exists. So if you can benefit from it, then benefit from it. I mean, that's what I got out of that. But also, I've noticed that some women's self esteem is so low that they want most men to like them. So it's like, sis, who cares if most men don't like you? If you're that desperate for a boyfriend, you only want one boyfriend, right? You only want one husband. You only want one fuck buddy or whatever you're trying to get, hypergamy, sugar daddy. You only want one man to like you. You don't need most men to like you anyway. So you shouldn't be offended if somebody says, hey, most men like skinny women. Most men like this. Most men like that. Most men like women with low self esteem. That doesn't mean I'm going to have low self esteem. Most men like women with low self esteem. That's my belief. But that doesn't mean I'm going to have low self esteem because I don't need most men to like me anyway. My self esteem is not so low to where I need 7 billion men to like me in order for me to feel good about myself. I would rather keep my internalized standard for myself. And then who cares what most men like? I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to look how I want to look or have the self esteem that I want to have. The only women who get offended by what most men like or don't like are the women who are male centered or the women who care about most men liking them. But let's continue.
Get the ring and go off and have babies. Shira is teaching the girls how to get money bags, how to get a business out this man, and how to basically be a sugar baby. This is what she's teaching. She's already said before that she's not a relationship coach. She is a financial advisor. So really she be trying to give y'all pointers on what to invest in your beauty, your nails, your hair. But it's kind of hard for me to take her seriously because the heavy makeup that she be wearing. So it's like it goes in one ear, not the other. And then the wigs that she be wearing sometimes be looking a hot mess. So I just feel like overall presence to the advice that she be giving y'all, she need to kind of, wear it more often versus just coming on camera. I'm gonna put on this thick eyeliner. This
Have you ever noticed that whenever people put you on a pedestal, they set the bar so high for you? Shira7 never said to her subscribers, "Oh, I'm better than you, I'm higher than you." Like she didn't put herself on a pedestal above her subscribers. You guys are putting her on a pedestal above you. You guys are looking to her as your advice guru. This is why I say on my channel all the time, I am not an advice channel. Don't ever look to anybody on the internet to tell you what to do, to tell you how to live. Don't ever blindly follow people on the internet. So it's not Shira7's fault that some of you guys are dumbasses and have no identity within yourself and you just blindly follow people on the internet. That's not Shira7's fault. So you can't say, oh, well, Shira, she doesn't meet my standard of wigs and makeup. Bitch, she didn't ask to meet your standards. You're just looking at her channel because you see her as being more privileged than yourself, whether it's with her beauty, whether it's with her lifestyle, or whether it's with her influence. I've never heard Shira say, you should follow everything that I say. You should do everything that I tell you to do. I've never heard her say that. She actually is very chill and very like, look, this is what I think about it. Shera7's content reminds me more of like, you're kind of sitting out on the back porch or you're having a girls' night, just kind of like talking shit. That sort of content. That's how I view pretty much all content on YouTube. I just view it as bouncing ideas off of each other. But I've noticed that the women who have low self-esteem, they have low femininity. They don't have um, they don't have security in their own femininity. They're looking to Shera7 almost as like this mother figure or like their feminine icon. And if you want to look at her that way, that's fine. But remember that femininity is not a monolith. So what works for Shera7 won't work for you. So guess what? Shera7 can come online with a ratchet ass wig and have 500,000 subscribers. Can you? And I'm not even trying to be like disrespectful to this particular content creator. I'm just saying like just in general, some women can get away with certain things because they have other privileges or they have other social climbing strategies working for them in the background that help them to stay afloat and stay leveled up. So Shira can come online with a ratchet ass wig. A lot of people say that she's overweight or whatever. Well, guess what? She's living her best life. Shera7 and confident women in general are living proof that you don't have to meet everybody's beauty standard in order to live a soft life. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. So, a lot of women who lack their own feminine essence, they lack their own sense of confidence and self-esteem. They're taking everything she says as, this is God, this is Bible, and then when it doesn't work for them, then they get upset or they try to blame it on her. I've noticed that this is that external locus of control that I always talk about. Women who have no self esteem, they have no femininity, then they try to copy your femininity and it doesn't work for them. So, like Shera7, she can wear a ratchet wig and still look feminine. I personally, I can wear a ratchet wig as well and still look feminine. I love a good synthetic ass wig. I love a good ratchet wig. I love a good ratchet piece. I know a lot of Black women, a lot of unambiguous women in particular, they want to wear the human hair and it has to be the expensive kind and whatever. No, I personally, I still receive pretty privilege. I still receive the treatment I want to receive, whether my wig is synthetic, whether my hair is natural, whether it's wet, whether it's dry as fuck, whether it's frizzy, whether it's in a lion's mane. And so from my perspective, it appears as if Shera7 is the same way. She has the same type of social status. So some people are going to say, oh, well, that's just because she's light skinned or because she's okay. And even if it is, now what? Do you feel better now? Like, how does that make you feel? How you like them apples? Let's say that Shera7 only got to where she is because of her skin tone and hair texture. Now what? What are you going to do about it? Nothing. You can't do anything about it because you cannot control men. You cannot control what men like. You cannot control how other people treat you. All you can do is manipulate their perception of you, which is what Shera7 is teaching. So she's saying most men don't like natural curly or, the curlier it is, the less they like it, that sort of thing. So she's telling you about the texturism of men, non-black men in particular. And this is how I know a lot of unambiguous Black women have actually not dated outside of their race because if you think Black men are texturist, no, non-Black men are not even, they don't even know what 4C hair looks like. And I'm embarrassed to say, I didn't even know how kinky 4C hair actually was until maybe a few months ago when I actually looked at, now they're calling it 4D hair. So if you think that a white man who has never even been exposed to 4C Nigerian hair, he hasn't even seen Nigerian hair on TV because most Nigerian women, even on TV, don't even show their natural hair in Bantu knots or whatever. So you expect me to believe that most men are going to prefer that? Because remember, 4C hair is kind of like so curly to where it becomes kinky and it curls in up on itself and it's coily. So to say that most men would prefer that would be a lie. Shera7 is trying to tell you about the nature of men. She's trying to help you to benefit off of their internalized biases so that you can receive whatever you're trying to receive. And this is why us exoticals, this is why we will continue to call you guys out, because we know that you guys want to benefit off of the same privileges that you get mad at us for benefiting off of. And Shira7 knows this as well. But let's continue.
It's heavy lipstick. And I'm gonna make this video. I mean, she gonna get views regardless, but at the same time, I know y'all smarter than this. And it's a lot of y'all that's ingesting her advice when for some of y'all, it ain't really for you. Like the advice that she's given, it's a lot of you where the advice that she's given does not even it does not even resonate with you. A lot of you want to be married. Shira, again, is not giving you advice on how to get a husband. She's trying to teach you how to get a sugar daddy, a sponsor. It's a lot of you that want to be married. You want to have the beautiful wedding. You want to have the big, pretty house. Shira ain't giving you tips like that. If you're just trying to get paid, Shira tips are for you. Like if you're just trying to get something to make something work and pop to get out your situation, okay, her tips are for you.
Well, I actually think that Shira, yes, she does have sugar baby content, but she has a lot of kind of level up content. She has a lot of confidence content. She has a lot of talking points that are really based on kind of dark psychology, very similar to what I talk about on here. I don't tend to talk about relationships as much though. So I actually disagree with this content creator when she's saying, "Oh, Shira can only teach you how to get the bags and that's it." Well, not necessarily. Shira also talks a lot about kind of like dark femininity, and how to utilize your own darker qualities to level up in life, and how to stop taking shit from men who are not worth your time. So I actually think that she provides a little bit more value than what this content creator is giving credit for. And I also think too, though, if you're not a feminine woman watching Shira7's content, and if you're not already coming from a place of some sort of privilege, then her content is going to turn you into a femcel, for lack of better words. Because Shira7, she's already pretty. You know what I mean? She already has pretty privilege. She's very classy. She's very articulate. Shira7 is extremely spiritual. She has a very spiritual background, very similar to myself. She comes from an extremely spiritual background, and so she's got a lot of knowledge that she uses to her advantage under the surface. A lot of the young, unambiguous Black women who watch her, they're very spiritually vapid as well, I've noticed. And so Shira7's content is not able to hit them in the same way that it would for somebody like me. Like I can understand her content, even though I personally, I am more of a decentering men type of person. I'd rather just become the rich man. I still think her content provides a lot of value in other areas because I understand the spiritual side of what she's talking about. I actually discovered Shira7 because I was a subscriber to Asherah Star Goddess, which is her other channel. But the Shira7 channel just blew up. So I think that if you're a woman who already lacks femininity, you're already lacking in privilege, you don't have your privileges stacked already, like how Shira does, then yeah, her content is not going to be applicable to you whatsoever because you don't even get the male attention to begin with. You don't even get the men begging for your attention in the first place. Shira talks more about how to manage your pretty privilege. So a lot of the women who don't even have the pretty privilege or they don't have the social privilege of even being in the vicinity of these wealthy men, they won't be able to get anything out of it because they have not even privilege stacked to the level to even be able to relate to where she's coming from. And so they're just going to get offended and say she's texturist, colorist, featurist, kind of like with my channel. My channel is only relatable to women of all races who are privileged in some way already, whether it's pretty privilege, whether it's some other unfair privilege, such as your body type, whatever your color, skin tone, hair texture. So I've noticed the same premise with Shera7's content. So if you're just some dumbass, ghetto ass, trashy ass, ugly ass, woman, you're not going to be able to relate. So, yeah, of course you're going to get offended because all she's doing is exposing the life that you will never get access to. And you know what? It's okay. You still can get access to that life, but you may have to try a bit harder. And Shera7 is trying to actually help you by saying, hey, most men don't like naturally curly hair. The curlier it is, the less men will like it statistically. And we know that that is statistically true because of texturism, right? All Shira7 was saying is, hey, texturism exists. So if you want to benefit from texturism, use a wig, look more like an exotical, basically. She didn't use the term exotical, but but that's all she's saying is, hey, why play fair in an unfair world? Did you know that I actually got that talking point from Shira7? That was one of the standout talking points that I heard from her um, when I was on my journey of no longer being religious. When I was coming out of Christianity, no longer being a good girl, that talking point that she gave, I think it was on the Shira7 channel. Why play fair in an unfair world? That's one of the premises of her channel and my channel as well. Why play fair in an unfair world? Oh, you prefer exoticals? You want to be biased in my favor? Okay, guess what? Then I'm going to benefit off of that because why not? Other people are benefiting off of their whiteness, they're benefiting off of their wealth, they're benefiting off of their body shapes and their body types. They're benefiting off of having a BBL, fake boobs, fake hair, blue eyes, whatever, dimples. So why can't I benefit off of whatever I've been born with or whatever I have the money and resources to purchase? That is the premise of Shira7's talking points. But for the women who have good girl syndrome, which a lot of unambiguous Black women do, you're going to be offended by that because you're going to view that as being exploitative. But it's like the society we live in is already exploitative. You're already being exploited as a woman. You're being exploited sexually. You're being exploited in your workplace. You're being exploited by capitalism. So, guess what? If you have any quality about yourself that you get to exploit, damn right, you should exploit that. And so Shira7 is just telling you about the internalized biases that men have that they don't realize that they have. And she's trying to tell you how to use their internalized biases and use reverse psychology to your advantage. And unambiguous Black women know this. This is why they wear wigs, is so they can benefit from texturism. It's so they don't have to suffer from texturism in the workplace or, deal with these stereotypes that come with wearing natural 4C hair in its shrunken state. So all Shira7 did was repeat the talking points that you guys talk about all the time. All she did was say out loud what a lot of unambiguous Black women say in their houses all the time. But suddenly it's a problem because a privileged woman is saying it. And if you're trying to benefit off of men's internalized biases in terms of hair, then yeah, you absolutely, especially non-Black men, absolutely. Like I know for me personally, a part of the reason why I actually stopped wearing highlights and stopped wearing my hair straight was because I got too much non-Black male attention. Like whenever I wear my hair straight, kind of like a Beyonce, like a straight with the brown with a little bit of blonde highlights going throughout, um, I got a lot of attention from non-Black men in particular, especially white guys with the blonde. Oh yeah, if I've got blonde in my hair, white guys are going to come flocking. So Shira7 understands the internalized subliminal psychology of men from these different cultural backgrounds. She understands their different internalized beauty standards because with men, most men are not as analytical with their beauty standards in terms of hair and stuff like that. Shira7 knows this. So she's trying to tell you how to use it to your advantage. But you're so much of a dumbass social justice warrior, not necessarily this content creator who made this video, but people who are offended by that. You're so much of a social justice warrior that you can't social climb. If you care about social justice, I don't want to hear anything about you social climbing. Sit your social justice ass down, go work for a charity, and you better not get a salary because otherwise you're benefiting from an ism, capitalism. Go volunteer with the Peace Corps and have a seat.
But if you know for a fact you want more than what she's trying to give you, like a temporary fantasy, like you want more than that, Listen, don't change nothing about your hair. I'm going to tell you something now. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, born and raised here. Curly hair, straight hair, wavy hair, blonde hair, brunette hair, black hair, kinky coily hair, it don't matter what type of hair. It could be orange hair. It could be frizzy hair. These men don't give a fuck. They don't care about no hair around here. Now, it may vary, the advice that she's giving, it may vary from state to state, but I know here in Atlanta, Georgia, these niggas don't care about no hair. If you got a fat butt, big old booty, small waist, pretty teeth, pretty face, they with it. It's whatever. They don't give a damn about no hair. That's why in the comments, I'm laughing at these comments. They're like, oh yeah, she's telling the truth. I mean, they love straight hair. And I'm just like, yeah, and your man that you think so much just loves straight hair or a little bit of loose wave hair, he out here cheating on you with a big fat Judy.
Nobody said, like Shera7 never said that having a certain hair texture will stop him from cheating. She has specifically said she believes that all men cheat. So this is how I know a lot of people, they're not critical thinkers. Also, this particular content creator, Girl Talk TV Rants, she appears to be more marriage centered as opposed to get the bag centered. And that's fine. I'm not going to shame her for being more marriage centered or lovey-dovey centered. But we all know that Shera7, her content is not centered around how to be loved by a man. I've noticed that some women, they're so desperate to be loved by a man that they can't social climb, and that's fine. I mean, I guess I'm speaking from a place of privilege, because as women who have pretty privilege on this channel, we get unwanted love from men. We get stalked, we get obsession, we get men begging to be in relationships with us and stuff. And I think that Shera7 can probably relate more to that versus feeling invisible, which I've noticed is a common talking point amongst women with inferiority complexes. They feel invisible, they feel overlooked. They've never even been hit on and harassed really, or, so they don't feel desirable. Shera7's content is not created for women who struggle with feeling invisible or women who are love starved. That's not who her content is for. In fact, I would argue that her content would be dangerous for love starved women. You have to have a lot of self love to even understand what Shera7's talking about. You have to have a lot of self love to understand what I'm talking about on this channel. And so I can tell that this content creator who's critiquing her, like, oh, your wig looks ratchet, this looks ratchet, your makeup's ratchet. Okay, but she has the life she wants. That's the whole point, sis. It's about living the life you want. Who cares about what men or what you think of the wig? She gets paid to wear wigs. What are you talking about? She gets sponsored to wear her wigs. She gets to experiment. Shera7, I can tell she has a fluid beauty standard, just like me. So I've seen her with different wigs, different contacts, different makeup. She looks like a different person all the time. So she just has a fluid beauty standard. You're not going to like every look that she does, and she doesn't give a fuck. That's the difference between her versus you. She doesn't give a fuck because she doesn't have to. She has the confidence to not have to give a fuck. You don't have that level of confidence, and that's okay. Just work on it before you start implying that people are texturists. Not everybody prefers curly hair, and that's okay.
With some long braids all the way down her back, with them long ghetto nails, they getting it on right now. And in your head, you done told yourself, because Shera told you, oh, they love straight hair. Girl.
But do you see how she's spiraling and she thinks that Shera7 is implying that straight hair is better than the other hair textures? Shera never said that in her initial comment. She said most men don't like curly hair, or a lot of men don't like curly hair, which I would actually agree. So from a sociology standpoint, because remember, the word like means prefer. So if you're talking about preferences, if you care about being a man's preference, which I personally don't, so that's why I'm not offended. I don't care about a man not preferring my particular hair texture because I'm not male centered enough to get offended at not being a man's preference. But from a sociology standpoint, across the board, if you're looking at non-black men, yeah, no, because most men on this earth don't have type 3 hair. There are more people who have probably type 1 to type 2 hair, I'm assuming. So I don't have a problem with that because I'm not offended if I'm not a man's preference. I'm not male centered enough to get mad about that. And neither is Shera7. That's why she doesn't care. She is a woman with curly hair saying that because she doesn't give a fuck. She cares about living her best life more than being a man's perfect preference. So Shera7 is more like, oh, okay, you prefer straight hair? Okay, let me get a wig. Okay, now what? I have straight hair. But I've noticed that for some women, they care the most, like it's deeply important to them to be a man's preference. It's deeply important to her to be preferred in her natural state. That is her deepest desire because she's never had that. She's never been anybody's preference in her natural state with her natural hair. And Shera7 has. You know what I mean? I have. So I don't have that same I don't have that desire evaded from me. I've already achieved that desire before, so I don't really view that as something that I'm chasing after. Oh, I deeply desire for a man to prefer me in my natural state. I don't even prefer myself in my natural state because I have a fluid beauty standard. I like makeup. I like the fake shit. I'm just being honest with myself. I like fake shit. Fake designer bags. I like fake nail colors. I like fake hair, makeup, earrings, jewelry, fake lashes sometimes. So I'm not offended by that because I don't have this void of, oh, I really want a man to prefer me in my natural state. But this woman, Girl Talk TV rants, I can tell that that's valuable to her. So this is just an argument about core values. Some women, they value for a man to prefer her in her natural state, like when she wakes up, like with no makeup or anything, and that's fine. But for me personally, I don't really care. Shera7 obviously doesn't care. Generally speaking, I would argue that women who wear wigs and weaves and stuff, they probably don't care either because they probably have a fluid beauty standard, which means, you know, they don't mind looking like an exotical. They think exoticals are pretty. They think exotical hair textures are pretty. Maybe she has 4C hair, but she thinks type 2 hair is pretty. So she doesn't mind wearing the type 2 hair. She's not mad about it. She's like, hey, look, type 2 hair is pretty. I want to wear type 2 hair sometimes myself. So she has no problem with it. But the women who deeply desire for their natural state to be the preference of a man, they're going to get pissed off. How dare you not make me the preference of most men? And it's like, you really need most men in the whole world to like you in order for you to feel beautiful? Is that how big the void is within your heart? Is that how big your internalized voids are in terms of your own beauty to where you need most men in this entire world to prefer you in your natural state? It's never going to happen, boo. It's never going to happen. And also, I would argue that Shera7 does not have male centered self esteem because she didn't mind saying, hey, most men don't like curly hair. And she has curly hair and she's not offended. If you're not offended by Shera7's comment, it's because you don't have male centered self esteem. You don't have a male centered standard of beauty. So you don't care if most men prefer you, if all men prefer you, if some men prefer you, only a few men prefer you. You don't care because your internalized perception of your own beauty is not based on most men. Oh, I want as many men as possible to like me. You don't care. So that's why you're not offended by Shira's statement because you think that you're beautiful or you've had enough beauty validation already to the point where you don't give a fuck. You can wear a wig, not wear a wig. You'll still get hit on or whatever. Or you won't get hit on and you don't care because you're not that male centered. You don't get all up in arms like, oh my God, most men don't prefer me? What do you mean? I need all 6 billion men on this earth to prefer me in order for me to feel okay with myself. That's a male centered version of self esteem. Let's continue.
Girl, get the fuck out of here. Listen, you do what's best for you. What I've noticed, like I said, I've noticed with my own situation, I get more compliments with my curly hair, with my straight than my straight hair. I get more compliments. Straight hair, hey, how you doing? Okay, you look nice. Curly hair, what's your name? You know what I'm saying? Can I take you out? You got a man? Curly hair to me equals looking exotic.
Okay, so this girl admits that being exotic is her internalized beauty standard. Okay, so that's fine. You like exotic beauty, as I do as well. But not everybody likes exotic beauty, though. Some people like, for lack of better words, basic. Some people like straight haired Hillary Clinton. For some people, they like that type of beauty, middle aged soccer mom beauty.
If you go over to the Caribbeans, you see a lot of curly hair. That equals exotic. So I don't know, but I'm just letting y'all know, do what's best for you. And if you ain't trying to get no sponsor, you ain't trying to get no sugar daddy, why are you listening to Shira? Like, Shira to me is like comedy. She's like a Friday night, Saturday night, guilty pleasure of mine. And I just be laughing. That's all. And the information that she's giving y'all is not for a Russell Wilson. She's giving y'all advice to catch a future, a Nelly. You know what I'm saying? Like, she not out here telling y'all that most of the Russell Wilson type guys, they like a woman to look natural and clean.
Okay, so first of all, she's stereotyping the Russell Wilson type, which is more so my type. But Shera7 actually never said, I'm going to teach you how to be loved. So I can tell that this content creator, once again, I can tell that she has a very relationship centered mindset. She cares more so about men preferring her in a more natural state, and she has an exotic standard of beauty. So there's nothing wrong with any of those things. But remember, two things can be true at the same time. So you can be a standard of beauty, white women can be a standard of beauty, Indian women can be a standard of beauty. Not everyone is seeking to simply be loved in their natural state. There's nothing wrong with you if you are seeking that, but Shera7, she's not seeking that, obviously. She seems to talk more about lifestyle, kind of like maybe being taken on vacations or I don't know, the soft life.
Not all this lipstick, this eyeshadow, these nails. If anything, having a natural manicure is what they really like. Y'all up here getting dolled up to catch Future and Nelly. Look at Ashanti's situation with Nelly right now. And then look how Ashanti dresses. She's beautiful. She's beautiful. But I do think eventually, as you grow up, your style does need to evolve. Now, that's one thing that Shira does say, that, as you get older, your style needs to transition and it needs to look a little bit more mature.
So I don't necessarily think that your style has to match your age, for lack of better words. I think that fashion is a social climbing tactic. So your style should match your social climbing goals, and that's it. So if you are older and maybe you want to appeal to a younger crowd or something, like the women who are cougars or I don't know, then their style often reflects that. And I don't have a problem with that. I mean, if you want to dress quote unquote young, then dress young. If you want to dress mature, dress mature. And I talk about this on my channel. Be sure to check out my video on how to identify your internalized beauty standard. So, fashion is not a monolith. And I don't like when women try to police other women's fashion. Oh, you're 40. You can't wear a crop top. If she looks good in a fucking crop top, she could wear a crop top if she wants. Oh, well, that looks hood and ghetto. Some women are hood and ghetto. Get over it. Femininity is not a monolith. See, this is what I'm talking about. We don't have the same insecurities about our femininity as you. Not necessarily this content creator, not necessarily Shera7, but I've noticed that some women, they start policing other women's femininity. You can't wear hoop earrings. That looks ghetto. You can't wear a mini skirt because you're 35. You can't wear the color white. No, Fashion is a form of creative expression. Your femininity is a part of your creative expression. So if Ashanti, the singer, if she wants to dress in big fur coats and express where she's from, I don't know where she's from, but maybe she's from the hood or something. Maybe she loves being from the hood, as some women are. Some women are like that. Some women like a good ratchet look every now and again. I personally do rock a good red lip and some hoop earrings every now and again. And I do kind of look like a ghetto ass Boricua or something. But some women like that aesthetic, and that is okay. Femininity is not a monolith. You don't get to police other women's femininity. That's actually a form of internalized misogyny, trying to police women's femininity. So, in the case of Shera7, she seems to talk about fashion for social climbing and hypergamy. So, yeah, you are more than likely going to meet a rich man who is maybe old money, or, well, I guess it kind of depends on where you're from. But yes, based on what you're trying to attract and the lifestyle you want to attract, you can dress for that. But as far as putting one on a hierarchy above another, like, oh, wearing a business suit looks prettier than wearing a miniskirt, I don't really like doing that. Ashanti is into ghetto guys. She likes ghetto guys. I mean, she's with Nelly, for God's sakes. So she likes that. So that's why she dresses that way. And also, in the case of Shira7, a bag is a bag. Okay. Money is money. So, especially for these women who are just trying to be a sugar baby or something, most women who are sugar babies, they will take money from whoever. They'll be a sugar baby to whoever is offering them the best treatment and giving them the bag. So if it's Future who gives her the bag, then she's going to get her bag from Future. And I don't think that one is more or less feminine than the other, because remember, there are pros and cons that come with everything. This content creator just said a few minutes ago, "Oh, curly hair can't keep a man," or having straighter hair doesn't keep a man. He'll be cheating on you with somebody with different hair. Okay, and then dressing classy, same thing. Dressing classy doesn't mean you're going to have a perfect life. He could be cheating with a ghetto girl. I can give you the same talking point. I can flip the talking point right back at you. Dressing classy doesn't guarantee a classy man. Do you know how many men there are that dress classy but they're dusty? Just go to your local 9 to 5 office and you'll meet plenty of dusties in suits. So, femininity is not a monolith. I think that the way a woman dresses should align with her social climbing goals. And by the way, when it comes to fashion, you can always tell what culture a person is in submission to based on their fashion. So, like with this outfit right here with Ashanti, with this fur coat and the jean, the Dolce and Gabbana belt. Anytime somebody has a designer belt on, oh yeah, you're into hip hop culture. You're influenced by hip hop culture, so that's the culture she wants to partake in. It's hip hop culture. She's got a New York, what's it called? Snapback, baseball cap, trucker hat. I don't remember. I've never worn a hat like that in my life, so I don't remember what they're called. But yeah, that's what she likes. So that's a part of her feminine expression. Femininity is not a monolith.
Than what you were in your 20s, especially if you're in your 30s, girl. You need to start to, take an inventory of your makeup, your wigs, your wardrobe. Now, that is true to kind of, clean stuff up. But everything doesn't have to be overly done, or it doesn't have to be fake. You know what I'm saying?
Her saying everything doesn't have to be overly done or fake. So I do agree. But I would say, once again, that sounds more like an unambiguous problem, with all due respect. And I don't know who this content creator is. She can be an exotical, but I'm just kind of thinking out loud here. I've never had that insecurity. Oh my God, everything on me is fake. I look so overdone. I don't do that, because the extensions I wear blend with my natural hair texture, or it goes with it. You know what I mean? I wear makeup in my natural skin tone. I don't wear makeup 25 shades lighter. So I feel like even when it comes to Shira7, the women who feel like they can't relate to anything she says, well, it's probably because they maybe they didn't have the same privileges as her, or they don't have the same insecurities that she used to have or the same inferiority complexes. Different women have different insecurities. Remember that whatever content creator you're watching, they always have biases. So if you really care about your content creators being relatable to you, then just make sure that they share the same biases as you. Then you won't be pissed off or rage baited.
Saying y'all out here, buying all these wigs to pull these men. At the end of the day, you got to take them off. And he don't even know what you look like under that wig. It's going to be Halloween town for some of literally Jason Freddy Krueger the minute.
So she's kind of admonishing women to not wear wigs because you're going to be bald headed underneath. And I would say, because I wear extensions and stuff, wigs, half wigs, ponytails, I wear fake hair. So I would say, if you care about that, just make sure that whoever you're dating, just ask him, how do you feel about wigs? How do you feel about tracks? Or just let him know you wear wigs and that you're never going to stop wearing them. I know with my boyfriend, one time we went running and my hair was in a ponytail. I had clip-ins. So sometimes the actual black part of the clip, the black part would come off and you could see the silver metal underneath, like on the clip-in. And so I remember we just got done running. We ran like I think 6 miles or something like that. And I was all sweaty. My hair was in a high ponytail with the clip-ins. He was like, "Oh, there's something in your hair." And I was like, "Oh, is it gone?" Like I tried to wipe it out. He was like, "Oh no, it's still there." And I'm like, "Oh, it's probably a track." And then he was just like, "I'm familiar with tracks." But I asked him though, I was like, "How do you feel about that? Like, how do you feel about tracks or weaves or wigs or, like if you really care about being the man's preference, you can just ask him, do you prefer natural hair? And then if he says yes, and you don't wear your natural hair, then be gone. Poof, be gone, bitch. Bye. It's that simple. Women are making this overcomplicated. If you care that much about being a man's preference, just ask the man you're dating or whatever, or your boyfriend. Well, he really shouldn't be your boyfriend then. If you care that much about you being his particular preference or your natural hair being his preference, then just make sure to have a conversation about that. This is very easy. This is basic femininity. You just have a fun, lighthearted conversation about weaves and wigs and makeup and all that. You don't have to get angry. You don't have to yell or curse. And that's it. And just make sure that whoever you're with does not care. Kane, in her case, her boyfriend obviously doesn't give a fuck. He obviously doesn't care. They're still together, I think. I know her guy is like really bad and really dusty, but I'm just saying, like, there's no need to be embarrassed of wearing wigs. See, this is what I'm talking about. I don't have these same insecurities. This woman on this video, she is speaking from a place of like she's talking to women who have insecurities about wigs. If you don't have insecurities about the wig, none of this applies to you. You can simply just ask the guy, "Hey, how do you feel about like weaves and wigs and stuff because I wear wigs?" But for the women who are embarrassed to be wearing weaves and wigs, I would say that I mean, my beauty rule for myself, one of my feminine rules is if I'm embarrassed to be wearing it, if I'm embarrassed to be seen in that particular item, I'm not going to even wear it. But yeah, I would say that's just a simple conversation. It's nothing that women should be scared of. Oh my god, I'm so scared to wear a weave now because he's going to see what I look like without it. Well, first of all, duh, of course he's going to see. And then secondly, um even when it comes to wigs, people can still see that it's fake, sis. Like when he gives you a hug or when he gives you a kiss or whatever, he can definitely see that there's a screen door in the middle part of your head. He can see all the grids, he can see all the holes, he can see you sweating, he can see the makeup sweating on your forehead and the makeup running down your sideburns. So I would say if you're going to be embarrassed of that particular beauty item, don't wear it. There are pros and cons to everything, boo. There are pros and cons to being natural. So, for example, the cons to being natural are obviously humidity or, the rain and the weather kind of messing up your hair. Maybe it takes long to do it or something like that. Maybe you have to deal with texturism, depending on your hair texture. Maybe it shrinks. So there are pros and cons no matter what hairstyle you wear. That's just a simple conversation that you can easily have with a guy. I'm starting to wonder, like, what are these women's interactions like with men? Like, are you that scared of a man? Does a man have that much social power over you to where you're scared of him seeing you without a wig, or you're scared what he thinks? I don't give a fuck what a man thinks of me if I'm wearing a wig or not. If he doesn't like it, he can kick rocks. Like, are you that scared of what men think of your natural hair? So that's how I know that a lot of women who are offended by this, they simply have different insecurities that Shera7 just didn't have. And by the way, every woman has insecurities. So that's fine. But yeah, I'm not scared of what a man thinks of my natural hair. If it's that important for him to like my natural hair, then I would just wear my natural hair only and not wear a wig. So it's like, which one is it? Pick a struggle. Do you want him to like your natural hair? Okay, so then only wear your natural hair. Take off the wig then. Don't wear a wig. Don't date with a wig on. If you care about him liking your natural hair, then make sure that you only attract men with your natural hair then, if it's that important to you. Let's continue.
He sees your real hair because that's not how you came. You didn't come with your real hair. You didn't get a nice silk press. You didn't go get yourself, you didn't go to a hairstylist that specializes in curly hair or 4C kinky coily hair. You didn't get your hair twisted up. Listen, I believe when you show a man what you look like for real look like, it allows him to actually recognize and see like, okay, I'm dealing with somebody that's not just a beautiful person on the inside, but also on the outside. Like she's drop dead gorgeous. I'm talking about you're just tens. And he recognized through your skin regimen, your skin look good, your teeth look good, your lashes look good, your nails are manicured, your toes look nice, the way you dress.
Okay, so I can tell that this content creator, she really cares a lot about a man thinking that she is a 10 from head to toe because she said it. So, but obviously that's not what Shira7 cares about because Shira doesn't say that. She doesn't prioritize a man thinking you're a 10 from head to toe because Shira says that all men cheat. So you could have perfectly manicured nails and whatever. I can use the same logic that you're using. You can have perfectly manicured head to toe, be a 10 naturally, and then still get cheated on, still get the same black man. And Shira7 is kind of speaking from that premise. She's saying, no matter what, he's still going to cheat. So look, just use whatever biases to your advantage and social climb. But this woman has more of a traditional, you should get married, that sort of mindset. She wants love. You can tell by her content that she prioritizes the woman being loved, having a nice, loving, kind Prince Charming type of vibes, romantic Prince Charming vibe.
The way you dress, the way you put that shit on is gonna tell him. Your purse that you have, he gonna already know that you mean business when it comes down to your lifestyle and your hygiene. You ain't gotta throw all this fake shit on the pool because you're gonna be pulling the wrong type of man. Again, Shira is not teaching you all how to pull a Russell Wilson, a Idris Elba. She's not teaching you how to pull these type of men. She's teaching you how to pull a Future. Because Future's going to spend some money on you, okay? But the integrity and the respect is not going to be there.
Right. And I feel like Shira7 has never hidden this though. So like she's not exposing anything new. Shira7 has said this. She believes that all men are actually like Future, whether he looks like Russell Wilson or not. She has said that she believes all men cheat. So that includes Russell Wilson. Just because you've never heard of Russell Wilson cheating, for example, doesn't mean that he's never cheated. And that's kind of the premise that Shira is working on. She's saying that all men have this dark side, this fantasy side, kind of this objectification of women, these internalized biases, which includes texturism. So use those internalized biases to your advantage so that you can live the best life. I personally think you should just decenter men altogether. Just become the Russell Wilson, become the multimillionaire. But whatever.
Because she's teaching you how to have a good time for a little while, not for a long time. Okay. And if something comes out of it, lucky you. But for the most part, for most of you, that's not going to be your fairy tale story, especially with you trying to make somebody your sugar daddy. Because remember, older men keeps getting younger women, no matter how old they are, because they're labeled as tricks, sugar daddies, sponsors. But as you get older as a woman, like Shera will become, you're not saying we don't pull as we get older, but it's not in high numbers as a man. You know what I'm saying? So you do have to pay attention.
Okay, listen to what she just said. She said, I'm not saying we don't pool as we get older, but it's not in high numbers as a man. So she is kind of agreeing with the red pill, basically, saying as you get older, you're not going to pull as many men. You're not going to have as many options. Shera7 does not believe that. So see what I said about her being this content creator, kind of being almost more, I don't want to call it traditional, but kind of having a little bit of internalized misogyny almost. Oh, as you get older, you're not going to pull as many men. First of all, remember, let's go back to my original talking point. We don't have to be liked by most men in order to feel beautiful, right? And that's what Shera7 is saying. Look, most men don't like my hair, curly, but I don't care because I'm still bad and I'm still living my soft life. So who gives a fuck? And I have my wig on and I'm living my soft life with my wig. Cool. But for this woman here, Girl Talk TV Rants, she's talking more about you want to catch a man kind of when you're young and hope that he loves you in your natural state from head to toe and make sure that he is more like Russell Wilson or somebody like that, even though you don't even know what's going on behind the scenes with Russell Wilson or whatever men you're putting on a pedestal. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes with them. But she's saying the older you get, the less options you'll have, which I strongly disagree with. I believe that once pretty, always pretty, if you were born that way. Like if you were already born having quote unquote pretty privilege or being considered pretty by the people in your vicinity, then I think that as long as you just maintain whatever you have, you'll always be considered pretty. But again, you don't need most men to like you anyway. So this girl, she seems to have a scarcity mindset in terms of love, has a scarcity mindset in terms of the male gaze. Oh, you better get him while you're young and make sure you keep him. Make sure he likes you in your natural state. Because once the wig comes off, you know, your value is going to go down in his eyes. Your beauty is going to go down in his eyes. Once you get older, you won't have as many options as before. She's kind of reminding me of what Chrissy said on her channel, where she's like, oh, I don't have as many dating options as before, but I still have options. Or talking about going to white men and Hispanic men because she got rejected by black men, basically, because the black men were colorist and all that. This kind of reminds me of that internalized bias. It's a scarcity mindset in terms of men. She believes that men and the male gaze is not abundant. So that tells me that whoever this content creator is, maybe she does not have pretty privilege or she didn't grow up having a lot of privileges in the same way as Shira, because Shira can afford to not give a fuck. Shira can afford to, you know, not be super skinny or not have her real hair and all that because she is still going to have pretty privilege. She's still going to live the soft life. And I would argue that Shira's content is actually not quite as male centered as what people make it. I think that she still involves men a lot. She involves men like more than I personally would, but Shera7 still knows though that she will have a soft life whether she's fat, whether she's skinny, whether she's being cheated on, not being cheated on. But this content creator here, Girl Talk TV, she is prioritizing no, you want a good, solid man that's going to be faithful and loyal and only have eyes for you, which is impossible, by the way, but okay. Only have eyes for you. He's never going to look at other women. He's going to think you're a 10 from head to toe naturally. And better make sure you catch him while you're young and keep him for a long time because when you get older, you have less options.
To that as a woman. Do you want to keep playing around in the senior citizen department? Or do you want to, go back over in your age group once you get your money back, whatever you done got from this man, and settle down with somebody your age or close to your age and build a family, have something, you know. Don't just be out here dibbing and dabbing in the senior citizen building trying to get this money. Okay.
So let's look at some of these comments. This one says, I think since Shira is a light skinned mixed black woman, she was likely sought after by or involved with mostly colorist, texturist, and featurist black men. And that may be who she had in mind when she said that. That's what they tend to like long, straight hair and also light skin. No, sis, but where did they get that standard from? Where did black men get that initial standard from, though? They got it from their oppressors. Who? White men. Black men who are colorist, texturists, and features, they're just following the white man's beauty standard. So to think that white men would be less colorist, texturists, and features than black men is idiotic. You do not understand psychology. You do not understand sociology. White people created racism, colorism, texturism, and featurism. So to think that the white community would be less racist, colorist, texturist, and featurist is idiotic. But anyway, she says, when you think from a more diverse or global mindset and perspective, it's different. Dark skinned women looking to attract all races of men would fare well with their natural hair, natural looking weaves and wigs or braids. We have a different look and set of circumstances than her, and definitely shouldn't be taking her advice word for word. Shouldn't be blindly following YouTube advice anyway. Yeah, so you shouldn't be following YouTube advice. Dark skinned black women who have pretty privilege in general can attract who they want, whether their hair is fake, whether their hair is real, whether their hair is natural, whether it's not natural. Because even if you look at all of the quote unquote divested marriages, those women are already pretty. Jodie Turner Smith, she was already pretty. She could get the attention of black men or white men. Serena Williams or whoever, all these women that people look to as the standard for divestors, those women have general pretty privilege altogether. So they would still be receiving pretty privilege in the black community or not. This is what a lot of unambiguous women don't understand. Your dark skinned icons are pretty across the board. Generally speaking, they're at a healthy weight. They have straight white teeth, smooth skin. They have healthy looking hair that tends to match their natural hair texture for the most part. And most likely, and also when it comes to relationships, obviously your personality comes into play. If you care about having a long-term relationship, yeah, that's when your femininity comes into play. That's when your personality and your flirting style and your seduction style and all that stuff comes into play. And I really think that it's not colorism that hinders unambiguous women from dating. I genuinely think it's oftentimes lack of femininity, like lack of seduction, not knowing how to seduce, not knowing how to be charming, not knowing how to be emotionally open and vulnerable and sweet, not knowing how to social climb. So you're not even around men who have emotional intelligence. You're only around dusties. So no matter how pretty you are, you're still only attracting trash guys. I think that's the real problem. It's not their skin tones. Anyway, what do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.